Right now on Inside Texoma, we are taking a look at New Year's resolutions, focusing, of course, on financial planning. Joining me with a little bit more what you can expect is Gary Silverman. He is the founder of Personal Money Planning. And Gary, tell everyone at home what they can expect.
Well, what I want to look at is a few things to help you in the new year. One is going to be how to take care of your credit cards, how to get rid of the credit card debt, or at least keep it from building come next Christmas, because I know what you did with your spending this last Christmas. We're going to look at how to start your retirement planning, how to involve you and your partner in your retirement planning. And we're going to have a few last minute tips to make sure that this financial stuff doesn't become overwhelming to you. So we want this to be a doable, workable solution for you.
I promise you it's a show you definitely don't want to miss. Let's kick off the year with a lot of financial goals. It all starts right now on Inside Texoma. Good morning, Texoma. I'm Ashley Fitzwater. Thanks for joining us for Inside Texoma, and Happy New Year to all of you. We appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. It's, of course, time many of you are making New Year's resolutions. So this morning, we are taking a look at financial resolutions. And joining me now to talk about just that is Gary Silverman. He is the founder of Personal Money Planning. Gary, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Ashley, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And I know everyone at home, making those resolutions, of course, today. One of those, a big one of the top five is, of course, about money, saving money. Everybody wants to save money, and with Christmas now officially behind us, and Hanukkah and all the other holidays where you're spending that cash on everyone, of course, now it's time to get out of debt as well, Gary.
Absolutely.
So you're going to tell us how to do that and get our finances and resolutions in order this year.
Right, and the first place I want to begin with is in the credit card area, because if you think about it, credit cards are the way we spend money. Even if we pay them off each month, we still tend to spend money. That way we don't have to carry all the cash on our wallets. And sometimes we want frequent flyer points or whatever we want with it. Well, so I want to cover first credit cards. And one thing is, you wouldn't want to let somebody else use your credit card without you knowing. And I'm sure you actually wouldn't want that to happen either.
Sure.
But a lot of people, that may be happening without them even knowing it. And the reason is because they haven't ever looked at a credit report to see what credit cards they have. And if you can pull your credit report and see what the credit reporting agencies say the cards you have, and then take your wallet or your purse out and lay all the credit cards down, are there ones they say you have that you really don't have? And that's where we look for identity theft. Has somebody been opening up credit in your name and you not even know about it? And so the way you do that is you go to annualcreditreport.com. That's www.annualcreditreport.com. Every single of the 3 credit reporting agencies has to once a year allow you a free credit report. Okay, so this free credit report, you download the thing, you have to answer some questions to know it's you. You can then download it and check to see what your credit looks like. It won't give you your credit score. Well, they'll give it to you for an extra 10 bucks or something, but for free, they'll give you the credit report. Always check that. I do like one of those every 4 months, so you check it all the way through the year. The next thing is, of course, we want you to pay your credit card off each month.
Sure.
That's the best thing to do.
That's the ideal plan here.
And after Christmas, though, it's hard for people to do it sometimes. And some people went into Christmas with a lot of debt. So what we want them to do is at least pay off their credit cards as quickly as possible. Now, nowadays, under the new Credit Reporting Act, you can see on your credit card statement every single month how long it's going to take you to pay that off if you only make the minimum payments. A lot of people figure if they're making the minimum payments, they're fine. But when they look at that special box they have now in the reports, it tells them it may be like 30 years before you'd ever pay this thing off. And by the time you pay a particular purchase off, that thing's obsolete, it may be broken, you may be dead. I mean, it's that long a period of time. So what you want to do is try to pay them off every month if you can. If you can't, at least make more than minimum payments. Obviously, the ones you want to start paying off the first, if you have to choose, are the ones that are charging you the most interest. Not necessarily the largest that you owe, but the one with the bigger interest rate on it. And if you look further down, you'll see like one card you may be 8.9%, another card 12.9%, another one 29.9%.
That's the one you need to pay.
29.9. If you've got extra money, dump the extra on that card, and you'll see your interest go down across time as you keep getting them paid off.
And that's even interesting. In the box, it also tells you how much you're going to end up paying too, correct?
Right.
So if it's a an item, you could be paying almost double or triple in the long run for that.
Very, very much so. And it's going to be an eye-opener for many people. They don't even look at the box, they just look at how much I need to send in,
Yes.
what's my minimum payment. And the last thing is, let's try to make it so we don't have to charge on our credit cards. And that's, remember when I don't know when you were a kid, when I was a kid, we had these things called Christmas saver plans, Christmas club accounts at banks. I remember when I was a kid, I saved like I went into the bank every week and gave them $2. And after 50 weeks, they gave me that $100 and an extra $10 back as interest. And it was them to get me used to going to a bank, but it was me a way to save for money. If you can save for Christmas in advance, figure out how much you spent this year, divide it by 10, and then save that each month. Now, why 10? I know that's only 10 months. I do know there's 12 months in the year, but now that gets you ahead of some of the Thanksgiving Day sales and stuff you might get. So that way you have the money in hand, and now this is so freeing because you can say, let's say you spent $1,000 this year, save $100 each month, and now you're trying to figure out how you're ever going to pay it off. Well, if you have $1,000 in the beginning of November, I could spend all $1,000 and not have to worry about it ever again. You save in advance, then spend, rather than spend and then try to figure out how to save for it.
And I like that, dividing it, because you always hear, okay, try to save for Christmas, try to save for your holiday spending ahead of time, but face it, it's hard to do because now you're trying to pay off. But divide that number up, go ahead and add up what you have now and do that.
Yeah, you can see exactly how much you spent. It's fresh in your mind, and dividing by 10, most people can do that.
Yes, that's pretty easy. I know most of us don't want to figure out how much we probably spent, so that could be a little terrifying to see that final number, but that is an eye-opener as well, so something to keep in mind. Do you recommend also maybe making purchases throughout the year if you can?
You can, and that would just subtract from whatever you were saving.
Okay.
So let's say like in June there's a great sale for heavy winter coats, as there probably would be in June. Well, go ahead and buy the $100 coat and use some of the money you've saved up, and that just means now you have $900, but you have $900 and a coat come in November, and you've already pre-started your Christmas shopping.
So you're still taking that out of that bottom fund and not adding to
The key is if you charge on a credit card and then have to pay it off across time, what you're doing is you're spending first, then you're saving, and the bank gets the interest from you. If instead you save periodically and then spend, now you have the money, you have your budget all set up, and they're giving you interest while you're saving. You don't have to give them interest. It's going the right way. Because let's face it, when they give you interest, it's like 0.1%. When you give them interest, it's 10, 20, 30%. Oh, yeah. So you might as well make it go your direction. And you're saving a lot of money that way. It's enough to buy yourself a little gift at the end and not have to worry about it at all.
Yes, a lot of stress, just, stress taken off of you as
and
well.
You don't need any more stress during the holidays.
Definitely do not. Now, once again, I want to quickly mention that is annualcreditreport.com. A lot of times it gets confusing with the word free thrown in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of paid sites or sites that are going to try to sell you stuff. The official site, the one that's required by the federal government, is annualcreditreport.com.
Something to keep in mind. Write that down. I know it was there on the bottom of your screen. You can always give us a call if you have any questions or you forget or you can't find a pen at this moment. We'll, of course, give you that address again. So, Gary, thank you so much. We need to take a quick break. We have so much more on financial resolutions after the break on Inside Texoma. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, joining me now is Gary Silverman. He is certified financial planner here, helping us to get everything, our ducks in order, so to speak, in a row for the new year. Today, of course, the first day of the new year, so we're starting it off with some great advice. And another way to do that is by investing.
Right. A lot of football today, but before you get to this football, you want to make sure your money's handled well. And one thing I want you to look at is cash. Now, you don't have to get out your wallet and look at it, but I want you to look at cash because some people, and I'm looking at investments now. We're shifting to investments. And in your investing, you may have too much cash, too little. What I mean by cash are what we call cash equivalents. Your savings account is a cash equivalent. A CD is a cash equivalent. Your checking account's obviously a cash equivalent. Money market fund. Because these are things that you can get at pretty easily. Okay, CDs may be a little bit longer depending how long it is, but you can get at really easily, and they never go down.
Sure.
Okay, you put $10 in, it's worth at least $10 by the time you get it out. It may not be worth much more, but at least get the money out. Now, a lot of people keep a lot of money in cash, more than they should, but you know what? A lot of people keep too little. So let's look at how you determine this. And the first thing is, well, how much cash should you keep? Well, we always know you should keep a rainy day fund or an emergency fund or a contingency fund or whatever you want to call it, but you need to have that fund for the what ifs. Now, there's a common what if, and the most common what if is, what if I smush up my car? What if the refrigerator goes out? What if my washing machine leaves suds all over the floor instead of on the clothes? Or just leaves it on the clothes, doesn't get it off again? So what do you do then? Well, I usually find somewhere between $1,000 to $5,000 covers all of those. It really kind of depends what kind of lifestyle you live. You know, if you're in a fairly fixed income style and stuff, you know, $1,000 is probably going to handle anything that you may run into problems with. You're the kind of person that goes traipsing off to France a couple times a year, then your regular problems may be a little bigger. But somewhere between $1,000 to $5,000 tends to be the best amount, and that should be kept in cash because that could happen anytime.
Sure.
But the next thing is, the one that people tend to worry about is, and nowadays, is loss of job. Because if you lose your job, you've got to eat somehow. And here we want to keep some money in cash for that. Now, I don't think you have to keep years of money in cash. You need to keep enough before you get your feet on the ground, at least get some unemployment checks coming in. And you've got to look at how long is it going to take you to get some job that can pay at least your minimal expenses. And you've got to figure it's in the worst economic environment for your particular job, which is probably why you got laid off, okay? Because they just didn't need you anymore right now because business is too slow. So how much time is that going to take? Then you need to go through your budget. And I know budget is a four-letter word for most people, but you got to see, you know, if I had to pay bills, what bills do I have to pay? Add those up, multiply that by the number of months, add a little bit extra because we always get a little too optimistic over these things. And that would be, I would say, the minimum amount you need to keep in cash for that purpose. Can you take a little bit extra risk with it? Yeah, I'd say yeah. You could probably go with like a very conservative investment fund at a mutual fund company. You go with CDs, you can go with a bond fund, but you don't want to put it like 100% in stocks because you don't know, you may do this money in 2 months and you'd never invest in the stock market for 2 months. On the other hand, a lot of people keep a lot of money in place. I know a young lady, actually she's an older lady, who has regular spending each year of about $20,000. She lives on a very modest income. She really doesn't need that much. She keeps about $60,000 in cash just in case. And I'm wondering, kind of, just in case what? She's retired. She's not going to lose her job. She could buy, you know, 5 of the cars she drives right now for that amount of money. What's she going to run into? There we're keeping too much money in cash. So we don't want to keep so much because money in cash tends not to earn much. I understand people will say, well, the stock market always goes down. You lose all your money in the stock market. Well, okay, so don't do stocks. But the thing is, you don't lose all your money in the stock market. You lose a lot for a period of time. And that's why if you're going to be invested for 3 to 5 years, please don't put most of your money in the stock market. We call that gambling. If you're going to do that, go across the Red River, stick it on red on the roulette wheel. Yeah, at least maybe you'll get some drinks or something in exchange for that. But you don't put it in the stock market. Instead, what you want to do is that's short-term money. But if we're looking at money you don't need for 10, 15, 20 years, you know, you're in your 40s, you're not going to retire to your 60s. You're in your 60s and you're looking for the money you're going to need when you're 80. That's money that's going to be there a while. That could be in the stocks and the mutual funds and the commodities and the real estate in some kind of mixed investment vehicle that shouldn't be in cash. Because if you look, long-term running average return on cash is about 1/4 to 1/3 of what it is in the stock market or the bond market. So cash is a horrible long-term investment, but cash is a godsend when it comes to short-term investing when you need the money. So you need to differentiate between the two.
So what's the best one? If I've never invested in anything like that, what do I go to first?
Well, I would be looking at a mutual fund company of some sort. There's a number of them out there. If you do your own investing, you make your own investing decisions, then you want to go to a no-load mutual fund company because they're just going to do whatever you tell them to do. And the biggies there are going to be like your T. Rowe Price, your Fidelity, your Vanguard, and they have every fund under the sun, from those with no risk to those that invest only in Singapore stock. So you name it, and everything in between they've got. If you want help, obviously you go to a stockbroker or a financial advisor or whoever you go to for your financial advice, and they will direct you to whatever investments you should go into. But you should be looking usually at mutual funds, especially if you're a starting investor, because with the first dollar you're sticking in a mutual fund, you have a very wide range of assets, and you don't have to worry about having all your eggs in one basket. You won't run into that little problem there. Because sometimes you drop the basket and where are you? You end up with that Enron instead of the Microsoft as far as the stock goes. So that's as far as that goes. Now, the other thing, since we're talking about cash and we talked about budgeting, you want to straighten out your budget. And this is something that people went into this Great Recession not having the budget straightened out. They were spending more money than we were making. I mean, the average American was literally, because the facts are there, were spending more dollars than they were making. How were they doing it? They were getting money from making house loans and charging up credit cards, because obviously they're going to get raises and they're going to get more and more money each year. They're never going to lose their job. Everything's going to be wonderful. Well, it didn't turn out that way. The houses are no longer the cash cow they were. People aren't getting raises every single year. Overtime's just not plentiful anymore. It's lucky you're getting a part-time job. So that's a reality, and that's always been the reality. It's just, sometimes you have those really good years, but you just can't count on them being there forever. And so you need to run a budget, and you don't have to track it every single day, but you need to see, am I spending more or less than I'm making? But you need to keep in mind not just what your monthly expenses are, because there's the monthly expenses, the electrical, the rent, everything else. But there's also going to be things like the non-monthlies, repairs on the car, medical expenses, that vacation, the Christmas spending we just talked about. All of those things are one time, you may forget about them. But then there's the once-in-a-lifetime spendings, that trip to Europe you wanted to go on to, or, because that's optional, retirement's not optional.
Sure.
I know a lot of people tell me, I'm going to work till I'm dead. Well, that's nice. Most employers won't let you stay until you're dead. So, in fact, half the people who early retire don't early retire because they wanted to. They early retired because they had to. And so because of that, you've got to be ready with your own retirement savings pool. That's got to be as much part of the budget as the milk you're going to stick in the refrigerator that week. All of those have to be covered. At the end of all of those, whether it's the savings or investing or all the expenses you have, if they're equaling more than you're making, now we've got to work on the budget. If it doesn't, then fine, your budget's fine. But if you add it all up and you got more expenses and savings, don't forget the savings you really have to do, then now it's time we got to begin cutting things off of the budget as necessary to make sure they fit.
That's the hard part too. Well,
and some people found it the hard way. I mean, people will tell me, I've had people with 6-digit incomes, and I'm talking the high 6 digits, like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 income a year, look me straight in the face and will tell me, Gary, I cannot possibly save $50 a month. It's like, you're making $50 a minute, you can't save $50 a month? And they were absolutely serious. And look at their budget. Since they didn't want to cut a thing, there was no way they could save $50. Well, if they lost their job, or the people who thought they couldn't cut back anywhere, well, guess what? You lose your job, you cut back somewhere. So if you're forced to, you will. We're still Americans. Americans are really good at getting things done when we have to. We may be a little slow at getting started, but when we have to, we'll get the job done. And it's usually better, though, if you can start working out before you have to.
Sure.
And if you can make your budget work now, it's going to be wonderful. And you're going to thank yourself later.
Absolutely. That is great advice, Gary. We need to take another quick break. We'll be right back with more here on Inside Texoma.